Hello E39 Source. Today a fun retrofit DIY. So we're working on an E39 530. This one is a 2002 model year and we're going to be retrofitting the BMW E38 7 Series illuminated door handles. So this is a feature that was never included on the E39, but the E38 is so similar that we can actually fairly easily retrofit them. So the part looks just like that. It's the identical door handle. It's in the chrome finish, so if you've got an M5 with a Titan finish, you might have to try to swap handles or not worry about it anymore. But the difference here is that it is illuminated with an LED bulb and then a bit of fiber optics right up here at the top that will illuminate that whole area at night. And again, this was a 7 Series thing, the 5 never got it. But it should be a fairly straightforward and direct retrofit. So this car is a 530, it's not an M5, so I don't know if there's any differences. Any that we find will be incredibly minor. We do need to remove the door panels for this. We're going to be starting on the driver's side, and removal of this panel is actually quite easy. In the center of the door handle there's a little black cap. You pop that out with a screwdriver and then use a Phillips or a Torx 20 to remove the Torx bolt from the center of that. Then you pull it out kind of at an angle, and there is, depending on your year, right. E39, this is a facelift car. The facelift was 9 of 2000 and later. So if you've got a facelift, it's got this white little cable in there. We'll get a better look at it when we have the door panel off. Yeah. And there's just a clip on the back of that, right? You kind of unclip it and then the handle comes off. To remove the rest of the panel, we've got a couple screws, a couple lights, and then lots of rivets all around the door. The first screw you want to be sure to remove is a Phillips head screw right inside of that vent right there. And I think you want your vent maybe in the open position or halfway in between. And you'll look in there and find the Phillips screw. Down at the bottom we have a puddle light. You'll pop that out with a little plastic tool, taking care not to break the clip, and then simply unplug it. There's another electrical connection on our memory seat function. We can do that after we get the panel off. That's not essential right now. Now comes the part when you pretty much just pull. This whole perimeter here is held on to the door itself with a bunch of plastic clips. So generally once you get it started and you can get your fingers back there, it only gets easier as you work your way around the door. Yeah, it doesn't sound too pretty as you go. Like that. But comes off pretty well. So now when we take it off, we need to be careful that we don't yank it too hard, because we have a speaker wire, we have the window switch panel wire, another speaker wire, and the memory seat button panel. So we'll get all of those clips undone, and then you lift up. You want to clear your little door lock indicator. Sometimes the trim comes with it, sometimes it doesn't. So now we've got it disconnected. Now we can take the steps to go ahead and remove the wiring connectors for all of our functions, which this one here just pulls out for your speaker. And then to remove the window switch panel, it's actually easier to get your fingers in there and press it up from behind. If you try to pry it from the front, you can mar the trim, you can mar the door panel, break the trim. It's easier, just get it like this, push from behind, pull it out, and then there's a couple connectors on here.
Old Molex style.
Very normal BMW connectors. You press the raised part, slide the thing all the way over, and pull the connector out. They're all 3 different sizes, so they can't go back in the wrong place.
This one's different.
That one's a little different. I think we need a screwdriver or just your finger, and we just pull that out, and there we are. We can take our switch panel and put it somewhere safe.
Dry location.
Safe, dry location, that's right. We did actually go ahead and disconnect the vehicle battery. We're close to the airbag here, so it is safest if you do that. On the 530 and 5 Series, you'll find that it's under this oddment tray. It's a 10mm nut. Make sure you put the cable in a way that it can't fall over and make contact with the battery. On the M5, the battery's in the center. Lift this up, open the little black door here, and disconnect the negative pole of the battery. So taking a closer look at the E38 door handle here, if you'll flip it over for me, Kenan, we'll see that it has a different style connector for the Bowden cable that's on the inside of the door. Now I said we'd get a better look at it, so let's do that. So this is the facelift E39 connector.
Right, to pop it out you just have to press this little tab back and then pull forward.
It comes out pretty easily once you do that. But the E38 is kind of like a pre-facelift E39. If you have a pre-facelift E39, you won't need to mess with this cable. If you have a facelift E39, we'll need to replace this cable with the old style. So we're kind of de-facelifting it to work with the E38 door handle. And the part number for this cable For the driver's side, the left side of the vehicle is 51218215617. So we're actually going to need to go ahead and remove the airbag. That was very simple. There are 3 10mm bolts. This is why we've disconnected the battery. At this point, double check and make sure that your battery is disconnected. 3 10mm bolts, 1 connector. Take the battery, put it in a very safe and very dry location. I'm going to make a note at this point. You only need to proceed with these steps if you have a facelift car after March of 2001, where you're replacing the Bowden cable. If you're not, you already have the correct cable, then you don't need to remove the speaker. You do not need to remove the vapor barrier. You can just skip ahead to the wiring portion. For wiring, please skip ahead to 9 minutes 38 seconds. Next step is to remove the speaker. Looks pretty easy. There is a gold Phillips head screw here.
PH2 if you care.
There is another screw up there by the wiring harness.
I believe there's one more.
And there's a third one
Down in the corner.
right down in that corner. Remove the 3 screws and the speaker comes out. Note that there's a electronics module on top, and we've just unplugged everything from that simple BMW connectors. Now we can take the speaker and put it over there. Unfortunately, we do have to remove the vapor barrier. I never like doing that. It's always kind of sticky and all that sealant in there is dried out. Certainly a good time to reseal that. 3M makes a product called window weld that we've used and had experience and had success with in the past. Just putting around a bead around where it where the old stuff was. You can see exactly where that was, and just for reassembly you want to do that to keep vapor out of your doors and window components.
It's also a good time to check your drains, your door drains in the bottom here, just to make sure they're not clogged with leaves or other debris.
Okay, these cables, getting the facelift ones out with the white clips and putting the old ones in, the old style ones in, if you have to do that on your facelift car. This is definitely the hardest part so far. So we went ahead and did the passenger door as well. The panel, everything comes off just like the driver's door, unplug the airbag, yada yada yada. Then we get in here, and step 1 is releasing this little black trap door. And that is quite simple. There's just 2 little tabs and then the door pivots open. On the driver's door, there are 2 electrical connections. On the passenger door, there's only 1. So the one that they both have is this black one with the black, blue, and white wire.
I suspect that drives the lock rod actuator of some sort.
That's what that would be for, is lock rod. So we'll slide that down, take the connection off. Then the driver's door has this secondary connection with black, white, red, and red, blue. And that kind of plugs in the bottom. So you're going to go up from here, pinch the side of it, and pull it down. Now your electrical components are disconnected. Now we have a small Torx 10, Torx 15, T20. Then there's a T30, another T30, and another T30. So 3 T30s and a T20. It's the same on both doors. Undo all of that, and then you have kind of a lot of play in here. Don't wiggle it around too much, but this whole latch actuator assembly is somewhat free. Then you'll see how the hook, I'm filming in the shadows here, but the hook goes in there and it comes in from the back, and you kind of just need to take the pointy end of the hook and push it with a flathead screwdriver and work it out. Then you're just going to slide this thing to the right, get the old cable out, put the new cable in the same way. It takes some fidgeting. The first one took me like 15 minutes and then the second one took 5, and the rear ones will probably be quicker as long as we can get this access or better to them.
The rear ones are actually the same design.
Oh, the rear one's the same design, so we don't have to do this on the rear?
Exactly.
Oh, hell yeah, we're almost done. So yeah, so that's definitely the hardest part. You just need to switch that hook out, and the hook over here is the same. It's this side that has to be changed, unfortunately. So once you get the hook slid in from the back, then this little red thing has to sit in the black plastic, right? So you pull it this way, move it down into the slot, then let it apply tension. You'll see it's hard to describe this stuff, but you'll see exactly what I'm talking about when you're doing it. And then you pivot the black door back over and snap the black door back on. Plug your connectors back in. Now we can replace our T30, T20, T30, and T30. And really, we're ready to put the vapor barrier back, put the airbag back, and put in our new latch. And then we got to do some wiring. We're going to have to find a 12-volt line that's switched with the rest of the orange interior lights to tap into. So when you've got the Bowden cable done, we can now start some of the wiring. So we're going to need a little bit of 18, 20, 22 gauge wire. The best we could find was 18 gauge. We bought 40 feet of 18 gauge wire. And you're going to need to get 2 lengths. Don't cut them yet. But start here at the Bowden cable that's going to connect to our door handle. Start at the hook. Leave yourself a couple extra inches. You can always trim it later. follow the cable over here to the main harness. You're going to work up the main harness, and then we just zip tied everything to the primary harness all the way across the top, all the way over to here, and then our blue wires end, and then we tap this harness. So there's a white plug over here that plugs into the memory seat function, that little M123 panel that you have on your driver's door. On that harness there's 6 wires. There's a solid brown one, that is your ground. Solid brown is ground. Then there is a gray with a red stripe. Your gray-red is your positive line that when the lights come on will illuminate anything that is sourced off of that wire. So I just tapped them up here. It's the same harness. Didn't need to run it all the way down there. Use some vampires or whatever kind of taps you like. Put those on there nice and neat. And then LEDs are polarity sensitive. So we went ahead and just removed the LED bulb from the new door handle. Just so we don't have to hold the door handle here. And plug your battery back in. We put the airbag in, we bolted the airbag in, then connected it. Stand back when you plug the battery in, just in case. Everything was fine for us. And then you're just going to hold them up there. Strip the ends of them, hold them up there, and see which way works. And figure it out. And then we just used terminal connectors on there, cinched them down, and we are ready for complete reassembly on this side. As we go in for reassembly, it's very important to note that this is how the new door handle connects to the new cable. You have to get that white sheath part of the Bowden cable snapped back there. Just involves a little bit of pulling. Make sure you get your hook. Don't want to stress our new wiring too much, and we can do that before we put the panel back on. Putting the panel back on is as easy as connecting the speaker there, shoving the wires through here for the window switch, plugging in the memory seat function, and routing the wire for the puddle lamp. So you're best to install this piece of trim up here first. It kind of installs on the door shell more than the door panel. Other than that, just make sure your wires are out of the way. You have this, you have the handle installed before the door panel. Run the wires through for everything and put everything back together. You got a screw up here, puddle light wire, memory button. Everything kind of just smacks back into place along the perimeter where all those clips are. Give it a test. Everything worked for us, so we're done with the front driver's panel. So here's the part numbers you need. You need 2 lefts and 2 rights. Part numbers are highlighted in red: 51218239475 and 476. Starting on the rear door panels, we're just going to pop out that cap. Same as on the front. A little flat blade underneath. Pop the cap out, and then that reveals a T25. Torx.
Or T20.
Once you remove the screw from the door handle, you just turn the door handle, kind of push it in the hole that it came out of. Then you have 3 electrical connections, although you're going to start just down here, just get your fingers in there and pull. Once the first one breaks free, you have more room to get your fingers in there and pull, and there's no screws or anything else holding this door panel on. Get it loose, get it up here. This trim decided to stay on the door this time. That's absolutely fine. Make sure you clear your lock lever. Then we have a wire for the speaker. We have a wire for the window switch, which you can just reach up behind and push the window switch out. And then you have the wire for the puddle light. So disconnect all of that. The puddle light just unclips from the bottom, or you can wait till the door panel's out and push it from the top. I always like to do that so you don't damage anything. And then the wires we're going to be tapping here are going to be for the 4-pin white plug for the window switch. We have our brown, that's our ground. And then our gray-red, just like the front door, is our positive line. So the rear doors, these things are easy. I'm in like 15 minutes and we're done, pretty much. We're ready to put the panel back on. So you get the old panel off, we've talked about that. There's no screws, minus the one holding the door handle on. Then we just find our window switch, again, the white connector. It's the same thing, gray-red for positive and solid brown for negative. Put your vampire clamps on there. Over here I was just running the wires up on top of the vapor barrier because these things are freshly sealed from new window regulators and we don't want to mess with that. So if they're off in the future, we'll zip tie them in there along the primary harnesses, right? But for now it's fine like this. Then we're using the 18 gauge terminal connectors to mate up with our door handle. I put the sheath, they're green on the back for some reason, or on the right side they're green, on the left side they're white. It's the same thing. Put the hook through the hole. We don't have to change these rear cables, they're already hooks. Hooks through the hole, sheath in the thing. We are completely ready to put the door panel back on. At the end of the day, we have the lights in, everything works. It's very subtle, matches the rest of the interior lights, and it's just enough to tell you where that door handle is. It's just a small LED in there. And if I hop in the driver's side, close the door, turn off the interior lights. And it's actually a lot more in person than it is on camera, but it reflects off of that solid piece of chrome door handle and shows you exactly where that is. Put your fingers in there and you get more light reflection off of that. But looking over to the passenger side, even on a good DSLR camera, it's pretty dim in here. But you know, the only thing illuminated in the rear of these cars stock is the window switch. And let me move to the back, we'll get a better look. So the window switch is here. The door handle is actually a lot more, and it really fits with the rest of this car. It's dim, but when your eyes get accustomed to the light back here, it's just enough to see where it is, right where you put your fingers and right where you pull. So that's actually a really nice addition to the back seat of the E39. So extremely subtle. I don't even know if you're going to see it on camera. Cameras always are terrible in low light, but nice addition to the E39. We're going to wrap up this video here. That is the DIY. It's really pretty straightforward. If you've got a facelift car, it's a little bit more difficult to swap out those front cables. Otherwise, it's just a matter of splicing some connectors, running some wires, and changing out the handle. It's very easy. And I don't know why this car didn't come with a factory. It certainly should have. So you guys have a fantastic evening, and we will talk in the next E39 Source video. Take care.